I think there's a thing that's happening right now with people who are building companies, and it's dangerous. It's mistaking virality for building a brand. Virality does not build a brand. What builds a brand with staying power is having a really amazing product, doing what you say you're going to do, showing up for your consumers, showing up for your retail partners, delivering on time, not having crap service.
And today on the show, we have a brand with us, or someone from a brand, to talk to us about what that journey looks like. It's Sara Ahmed Holman. She's the Chief Commercial Officer and President of New Ventures at Bobbie.
And we're already the third largest American infant formula player, which is absolutely wild to say, given we've been in the market, less than 7 years. But I think a consistent theme is the brands who tend to be the breakouts across all industries are ones who were building that brand and that trust the entire way along.
It sounds so basic, but I think basic can be good. You have to have a great product to be successful. And so many people, I'm not saying necessarily obsess per se, but your product has to be great, not good, because good is the enemy of great.
I think what's happening right now is we're conflating being really fast with being good and good enough to break through. And I don't believe those things are necessarily true. People were hungry for a new product that they could feed their children and be proud of.
I think it's really important for brands to be thinking about what is true and important for them, because it's easy to chase the shiny object, but getting really clear on what is important to you and letting that, and the ethos of the brand, letting that be the driving factor.
Hey everyone, I'm Michael Maher, the host of The Longer Game, a podcast that talks all about the future of retail. Brick and mortar, direct-to-consumer, Amazon. If it's driving retail forward, we talk about it here on the show. Make sure to subscribe to catch every episode on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And before we dive in, I just want to say thank you. Every listen, every share, all of those conversations, they mean a lot to us and they help us get our message heard. Retail is evolving very quickly. You've been along for the ride, and I appreciate you for being here. All right, let's get into it.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on The Longer Game. We talk about all things retail. Retail is a very expansive definition, and that's because retail really is omnichannel. That's the future of retail. That's how people are interacting with product. It's direct to consumer, Amazon, other marketplaces, in store, where actually still 80% of things are purchased. And today on the show, we have a brand with us, or someone from a brand, to talk to us about what that journey looks like. It's Sara Ahmed Holman. She's the Chief Commercial Officer and President of New Ventures at Bobbie. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thank you. I do a lot of things at Bobbie. But
you can tell us about all of them if you want.
Yeah, sure. If it's interesting, I'm happy to. So I run a lot of different parts of the business that, to those who haven't been at a startup, might feel a little bit disparate, but when you're inside of a fast-growing startup, it'll make sense. I lead our wholesale and our retail marketing. I lead innovation. I lead product success and go-to-market, and I lead our medical strategy. So the cohesive theme is really thinking about new channels, omnichannel, how people learn about the brand, how they gain trust in the brand, where they shop the brand, and really making sure that as we scale, and we're already the third largest American infant formula player, which is absolutely wild to say, given we've been in the market, less than 7 years. But as we grow, how we stay true to the brand, how we don't compromise on a lot of our brand values of organic and quality first, trust and transparency with parents. Now we're a manufacturing company. In addition to that, we went vertically integrated. So lots of different pieces of the business sit under me, and it's been so much fun to get to build this company from the ground up.
I think it's really important for brands to be thinking about what is true and important for them, because it's easy to chase the shiny object.
Yeah.
Even if the shiny object is good in theory, we want to be organic or this other specific thing, but getting really clear on what is important to you and letting that, and the ethos of the brand, letting that be the driving factor. Because when things get challenging and difficult, it will be very easy, if it's not important to you, to pivot off that and move into something that is a shiny object that's not going to take you in the direction you want to go.
I couldn't agree more. For us, it was really identifying this niche, what started as a niche when a bunch of us were, early days. I think back to my oldest daughter and having her, and one of the reasons I found so much alignment with Bobbie's founder was because we were going through this experience in similar times where we were both importing formula internationally under the assumption that that was safer. In hindsight, knowing everything I know about the industry, I would not advise that for anyone. Order things from an unregulated market where there's not oversight over supply chain and manufacturing. Fast forward to understanding there were a lot of us, right? There was a study back then showing that like 20% of new parents in New York were actually all illegally importing. And when we looked at why, it was because there was really broken trust in the US infant formula industry. And so, what I would say we are maniacally focused on, many would say obsessed with, is how are we going to build one of the best organic infant formula brands, American infant formula brands that manufacture here in the US, that have domestic production, that are sourcing from globally the best ingredient providers. And there have been a lot of opportunities. We've been in market now for a handful of years where people have said, you should launch more products, you should go into more categories. It's only now that we're the third largest American player that we're going, now we'll think about it. Because until recently, every bit of the business was focused on safety, quality, transparency, trust, and building a core business. And I really think that obsessive focus on the product is what got us to where we are today.
There's a trust economy with buyers of, do I believe that this brand is going to do what they say they're going to do, or do I even believe in them? And I think in times of economic peril, we see people go back to like familiar brands or cheaper brands because of that cost. But people are very conscious in terms of what they're buying these days, and people feel like in general are buying in more alignment with like what is important to me, what are the things that I want to buy. Is it cost? If it's cost, great. Product quality, great. But like people are very clear on that. And so when brands get really clear on that, you attract the right people to you. And I think that helps build momentum behind you so that you've got this core base of people that are coming to you. You can always grow and build the demand for the market because now you're educating people, with which it sounds like is what you're doing. And I was liking this back to like I say it's like the American Idol, like Kelly Clarkson, but like a lot of those stars are not stars anymore. Like they were just pushed out into the limelight. And I think Kelly Clarkson's the only American Idol star who was the first who like won the show, who's like been really long-term successful. A lot of the other ones like Carrie Underwood or Fantasia or whomever, like they were, or Jennifer Hudson, were not first. But I think the reason a lot of those singers did not succeed is because they had no base. They had no like group of people that really were fanatical about them and their voice or their music. And you look at like most, I feel like, stars over time, or like music stars, they have people that listen to them, they grow. And even if their one album flops, they've still got this base of people. And that is what I think really attracts people to brands. When like, man, I know what this brand is about. I love that. And this brand stays super focused on it. You're going to get the product quality and the other things figured out, or that group of people, you're going to attract them to you, and you're going to build product market fit. Long term, you still can grow the market in general of like, hey, this is why this thing is important. Like I think a good example is a brand like Poppy or Olipop, who like, there were not a lot of like, new soda companies 7 years ago. But now every week there's a new, better for you soda company. So the category has grown, but it started with like focus on what was most important.
Yeah, I think there's a thing that's happening right now with people who are building companies, and it's dangerous. It's mistaking virality for building a brand. Virality does not build a brand with staying power. What builds a brand with staying power is having a really amazing product, doing what you say you're going to do, showing up for your consumers, showing up for your retail partners, delivering on time, not having crap service. That's what builds a brand. How you stand up for things, how you believe in things, how you advocate for things, your brand tone, your brand voice, your identity. That's what builds a brand. And, in so many ways, I think that what we see, and I think what you're saying is a good example, right? We're seeing beverage, for example, get flooded right now with better for you sodas.
Yeah.
Well, not many of them are going to break out because they're not building on the foundation of brand building. And I'm not saying that we all have to hold on to what worked a while ago and assume it will work now. That's not true either. And there are elements of things that are always going to shift. But I do think one thing that stays true is exactly what you went back to. And we see this a lot in pullbacks in the economy. Consumers trust certain brands for a reason. There are iconic houses of brands like P&G and Unilever and Coke,
Reckitt and yeah.
Pepsi and Reckitt and Abbott for reasons, right?
Mhm.
We've grown up with these brands. They've created trust over decades. They've created trust, and that that depends on the consumer. Some consumers will say, "I have no trust with those brands." Some will say, "Yeah, I'm going to die on the hill if that's the brand I'm going to buy products from." But I think a consistent theme is the brands who tend to be the breakouts across all industries are ones who were building that brand and that trust the entire way along.
You said something that I don't want to overlook, and it sounds so basic, but I think basic can be good.
Okay.
You have to have a great product
Yeah.
to be successful. And so many people, I don't think, I'm not saying necessarily obsess per se, but like your product has to be great, not good, because good is the enemy of great. Then that's why there's so few things that are great because we settle for good, like Jim Collins said in Good to Great in his business book. But like it has to be great. That's what will stand the test of time. And I think so many people think it's just a product or it just fits this need or my brand is this logo, and it goes way deeper than that, like the why. And then yes, you solve the problem, but like a lot of people just jump to creating the product instead of thinking about that. And I would liken that to a lot of people want to implement tech in their business. Like I want to put AI in my business. I'm like, great. Why do you want to do that? Well, I want to use AI. I'm like, that's not a reason. That's just saying like I want to, get some piece of technology. Like, what is it that you're trying to do? Like, what is the why behind that? And I think so many people don't obsess over the why. And so they end up creating a product that's subpar because they don't catch those things of like, this didn't fulfill this need. And they're like, oh, well, I'll kind of settle for that. That's okay. But like, great product is the core.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that a lot of, especially in this day and age, right, where there are entire ecosystems, companies, networks that can help you hook up with a co-man really fast. And I can import it from here and I can make it from here and I can brand it using AI. And I mean, my entire algorithm sometimes is around like how you can launch a business with one person overnight. Okay, you're launching a product and it
Right.
may turn into a repeat purchase, but that's not a brand, right? And
Yeah.
I think about that a lot when I go to these giant expos. It's like, how are there this many companies? Like you have one product. And this is and so did we when we launched. But I think what's happening right now is like we're conflating being really fast with being good and good enough to break through. And I don't believe those things are necessarily true. Like when you look at companies that are being built that have a really good product, these were not products that were randomly sourced from somewhere. They were intentional. They were thought through. A white space was examined. A product was tested. I'm not saying you have to spend years and years and years in development, but
I don't think you have to get it perfect because if you focus on the perfection, then you'll never release
I
the thing for
agree.
sure.
But I think there's something in between what's happening now and what probably should happen that feels like a lot of companies are missing the boat on it. And you have to take everything I say with a grain of salt because we are in a highly, highly regulated industry, right? Baby formula is controlled and regulated like a drug, as it should be. It's a food, but it's regulated like a drug. And that's because it's the sole source of nutrition for babies. That's important. That's critical. That should happen. So the expectation of clinical studies and all of the work around development is different because you're responsible for growing a baby's brain and organs and body, and that's not to be taken lightly. But even when it comes to snack companies or beauty brands or makeup brands, getting that first purchase is not enough. Creating the relationship with the consumer, having them want to come back and use the product over and over, that's what really matters, right? When you're building a brand. Otherwise, you'll spend the entire brand life just chasing and buying consumers. And this is why everyone freaks out when a change happens in Meta or something happens with Google and everyone's CACs are blowing up and it's outrageous. Well, because you were really dependent on buying every single consumer. You had to keep the engine going because every consumer was net new. So your traffic had to be like this so you could convert this many people. Well, guess what? That's going to burn a lot of money. So it's a balance between how you grow and how you grow sustainably and how you rely on the brand. And all those things have to work in tandem.
At Cartology, my agency, I told you we focus on Amazon, and a lot of people know that advertising is a big lever, and it's really the biggest one that you have. You still have to have a great product. You still have to get people to want to convert. So, your PP needs to be conversion friendly, but targeted traffic is your biggest lever. But a lot of people look at it in an incorrect way, and they really are just buying a new customer and they're not thinking about the investment. Like Amazon is the only channel, maybe Walmart too, and Amazon's really the only channel. Google, other places do not operate like this, where when you spend money on ads, you have the opportunity to invest in your organic visibility. If I want to rank on the term, organic baby formula, I have to be very intentional about how I set up ad campaigns. I have to measure the right leading indicators, not the lagging of like, what is my return on ad spend or what is my revenue, but like, what are the leading indicators that then tell me I'm going to be ranked highest organically? And that's what I call building search equity. And so many people don't think about doing that. It's like, oh, well, my ROAS is a 5-to-1. Great. What's your market share look like? What does your organic visibility look like? What does your share purchases look like? And people don't think about that investment in building visibility. It's measuring all these like numbers that I think I'm supposed to measure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what it feels like sometimes with brands, is like, what are the things I should think are important and how fast can I do this thing? And I'm just like, you could do it as slowly as you need to. I mean, I believe that there are like good timing windows, but still, like, don't focus on the vanity metrics that you think you need. Like, great, you got to 10 million in revenue in 2 years. Will you be here 7 years from now?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're exactly right. I see this a lot on the retail media side where, people look at their retail media budgets in a silo. And when you think about, conversion funnels, et cetera, and you look at what retail media is meant to be doing, it's so easy to take credit for all of the upstream work, right? Of the brand awareness, of the brand building work, of even middle funnel. It's always so interesting to me because a lot of brands will come to me, how much should I spend in retail media because I need to get to X goal? I'm like, well, what are you spending across the business in marketing? How are you thinking about your brand? Because if all you're doing, again, is hovering in that bottom space where you're trying to capitalize on just conversion at the bottom, you're trying to build your brand from a place of conversion first. It'll work to a certain degree. To your point, yeah, it might get you revenue to a certain point. And then what? The question is, and then what? And I think that's where people get stuck in building companies is you don't want to build a company thinking you already know what's going to happen, because the reality is from here to there never looks the way you think it did, right? I can 100% wholeheartedly say it was not on my bingo card that Bobbie was going to go buy a manufacturing company a couple years into market and become fully integrated.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That was not the plan.
That likely was necessitated by your focus on obsessing on having the best baby formula.
And having a massive market shift, which was the largest recall that had ever happened, an infant formula shortage that had ever happened in American history. There was no option. We had to, if we wanted to be able to give the kind of product that we felt parents deserved, which again, we were obsessed with and we were not going to compromise on. The only option was to become an infant formula manufacturer. I say that because all of these things affect how you plan out your business, your growth strategy, where you're going to go, your retailer, your channel strategy. These pieces aren't in a silo. And when you start a brand or when you're thinking about a brand and where it can go, you have to have some plan of that 7 years from now, like you mentioned. But then you also have to really think like, where do I have to be able to pivot and understand what is going on? And this, again, goes back to brand trust. The consumer is experiencing what's happening in the real world. A brand has to be able to address her, talk to her, acknowledge that, and grow with her. Otherwise, you don't have any staying power. I'm not saying you should change your product portfolio every time there's a new trend, but the way in which a brand is able to educate and communicate and have that relationship is absolutely critical as you think about growing a company.
It's not like you said, oh, we need this new certification or we need to have this new hot color. We need to add this thing. The reason you made that shift was, hey, what are we in service to? Making this best possible product because we want this mom to have the best possible formula. Well, what do we need to do that? That's when you're so focused on the why, that's what dictates all the other actions. When you're focused on all the other actions, that starts to dictate your why. And then you start to, I think, compromise and make bad decisions like, oh, well, we need to shift and talk about this. And we need to shift and talk about this. Like, you stay focused on what is most important and that will start to make the path more clear. I think you're still going to have to hack through it with a machete when you're, forging a new path, which is like, I'm always cool with. I like to build. I like doing these kinds of things. I think that's how God made me to be, was to be a builder. And then I don't need to perfect it, but like pass it to the person who's going to make it, so much better. Like start the thing. So I'm okay with getting my hands dirty, but you have to stay focused on the why of doing that thing. Otherwise, when things are, one, there's a lot of stuff that you could focus on. And two, when do you make the right move of like, hey, we want to be vertically integrated. We want to go expand to this channel. Like, why are we trying to do this? Well, we're at a point where we're trying to access more moms to get better quality product. And we feel like we've done what we can where we're at now. Now we want to take that next step. Like that why needs to dictate your what.
It was, when we were thinking about our channel strategy and expansion, because Bobbie was the first company to launch infant formula direct to consumer. I'm sure you've seen, the headlines from when we launched. We sold out of all of our inventory within a matter of months. And as we started to mature and grow and take market share, one of the things that was really interesting for us was if our principle, one of our core beliefs and missions was that parents should have optionality, that they should be able to find a product that they feel proud of feeding their children. Because our core mission is actually shaking the stigma around infant formula, because there's a lot of stigma associated and shame associated with women not being able to breastfeed. So in order to do that, you can't give someone confidence if they don't feel good in the product. If you're not proud of what you're feeding your baby, how on earth can you be proud of the decision to not breastfeed, which we're told is the best? For us, as the person who was really responsible for thinking about our growth and omnichannel strategy, I was really sitting with this responsibility of saying, listen, we've got this unreal direct-to-consumer business that's showing no signs of saturation or tapping out.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, going back to our mission, we have a responsibility to show up where parents are purchasing. And 90+% of category shopping for infant formula is happening in retail. And so when we think about what it means to fulfill our obligation and our responsibility to American parents, we have to start thinking about what it means to show up on retail shelves, even when we don't have to. That was really different, right, than what you see a lot of companies doing, which is, oh boy, we're seeing D2C start to fizzle out, CAC's getting more expensive, turn on another growth channel.
Yeah.
It was the opposite, where all of a sudden the demand had been so pent up in retail that when we just started to when we started to open the faucet a little bit, everybody was flooding and buying the brand. And it was because of that desperation. Bobbie was the first new player that had entered the US market in decades, right? And so people were hungry for a new product that they could feed their children and be proud of. Brands ask me a lot, you guys are the number 1 player at Whole Foods, you're the number 4 player at Target. Like, how did you do that so fast? And it was because of that. We weren't chasing growth. We were building a brand and a product that people trusted. And so when we showed up on a shelf, people weren't going, what is that? Googling it. They had already heard of it and they knew it. And now we were just showing up where they wanted to shop. We're one of the first brands that have become number 1 in less than 6 months on shelf. That happened at Whole Foods very quickly, and that was because of a lot of aligning features. But primarily, I credit that to saying, we have an amazing product that speaks for itself. We've fed almost 1 million babies. My 5-year-old was a Bobbie baby, and she's going into kindergarten, and she walks and talks, reads and spells and does math.
Cool.
Like, the proof is in the kids, right? And when you have that kind of testament, when parents meet other parents and they meet their kid and they go, well, that's a Bobbie baby, that will lend itself to natural organic growth, no matter what the channel is.
People just don't shop. There's no like channel. I hear people talk about, like, oh, well, we don't own the customer on Amazon. And I'm like, okay, I don't really think you own the customer anywhere, because I don't see people as being loyal to a specific channel. It's what makes the most sense for them. If the shopper behavior for infant formula is 90% in store, then like eventually you need to be in store, because that's where you're going to access most of your customer base. People might stop somewhere to get something because of convenience. They might order something on Amazon because of the convenience of, I don't have time over the next 2 days before I go out of town and I need to get this stuff. They might shop on a direct-to-consumer site specifically because of the SKU exclusivity that's there or what's there. So like, there are different reasons to shop different places. And I think you hit the nail on the head. You have to be where your consumer is. And the reality is, your consumer is likely at Target or Walmart or Whole Foods or Amazon or searching the web. So I don't think you honestly own anyone. And I get what they're saying. Like we don't have, access to the customer data, but I'm like, that's just looking at it myopically. Like that's one channel. You need to think about what your brand looks like and shows up outside of that in order to now really like you used to be able to launch, I think, just a D2C brand and not be anywhere else. And it could be super successful. And maybe that's it. You used to be able to do that with Amazon as well. I don't really think that continues to be the case. I think you can start there, but like there has to be outside brand presence because people want to know more and they're naturally curious to say, I discovered this new brand. Is this a legit brand? Well, let me go check out their social. Let me go to their website. Are they showing up in store?
I agree. I think that consumers are very savvy. And I started my career as a lawyer, and I used to advise a lot of different companies, big CPG players and others. And something I used to say a lot was never assume your consumer is dumb. Let's assume consumers are actually really smart. And I say that to the Bobbie team all the time. She's smart. She's researching, she's looking us up, she's vetting us, she's asking her friends, she is thinking about us and revisiting us and going to our website and on Reddit. What is her experience of it? Is she experiencing? And by the way, it's going to be honest. You can't control all of that stuff. No matter how much we think we can control it, you can't. Consumers are going to find ways to communicate with each other and give reviews. I mean, that's the blessing and the curse of retail reviews, right? This is why it's so trusted. Guess what you can't do? Delete your reviews, right? The
Right.
FTC is strict about how you essentially engage and show reviews on all different websites and platforms, as it should be, because consumers have to be able to get unbiased information from each other so we can make educated decisions.
I actually think that can play. I'm sure you've seen this happen, but like you have a bad experience. What's the best thing that a brand can do is like publicly make that right. You're always gonna have problems. But if someone, you said, you can't have crap service, or maybe I'm using those words,
No,
but
I said
you
that.
can't have bad. Okay, you can't have crap service. That's like, as someone who used to work in retail,
Mhm.
like the easiest thing that you can do when someone walks into your store is just like, hey, like, thanks for coming in.
Yep.
Something like that. Instead of looking down, like you get so focused on, oh my gosh, there's pressure and there's work. Like you just acknowledge someone or like, hey, we're going to be with you in 1 second. Or like, hey, we're a couple minutes behind, but we'll be with you in like 3 minutes. Like just something,
Yes.
just to the acknowledgement makes a big deal. So that like public recognition of, hey, we made this mistake and here's how we're going to make it right. That's like the best thing that you could possibly do.
I'll go one step further. I don't even think things have to be on this giant platform. I can name 5 brands I have been obsessively loyal to because when I reached out to customer service because something went wrong, their immediate reaction was not checking it, validating it, send me the code. It took
Yeah.
all the burden off of me. You're right. I'm sorry. If that was your experience, it wasn't a good one, and we're here
Yeah.
to solve it. I will say above, probably on par with our product is our customer service. We have exceptional customer service. And this is something Bobbie's actually known for. The thoughtfulness of our CX team around how to listen to people, how to solve the problem. Now, that's not a script. That's actually understanding and having a relationship. That's understanding when a mom calls us or when a parent or caretaker calls us and they're having an issue with their infant formula or their delivery, how would we want to be spoken to? That seems so silly and simple, but actually 99% of brands miss that, right? Like,
Well, it's because you're thinking that other person is thinking about things like you.
Yes.
And they're not.
And I think one of the testaments to like why we've come so far is also because we're all a bunch of parents, right? Bobbie is disproportionately made of parents. So when we're going through, well, how are we going to handle this situation? How are we going to respond? Almost all of us are uniformly going, well, how would I want to be talked to in that moment? And if I'm calling and saying, you guys were supposed to deliver my product yesterday, and then I had to go to Target because now it's late. The answer is not, sorry, UPS really messed up. It's, what can we do? We're so sorry that happened because that's really annoying. These are the things that I mean when I say building a brand, is understanding who your consumer is. You know what's wild? Most brands will launch into retail and they won't know what's going on with their product until they see a review at the same time that it's going online, or they'll get their return rate and they'll see it spike for some reason the next month in their bill from their retail partner. Something that has happened disproportionately at Bobbie, which I find to be so interesting and not a coincidence, is that a lot of retail customers will email RCX and will reach out to RCX.
Mm,
So they'll buy it at Target or Whole Foods, but they'll come to us to ask us for guidance and education. And to
I love
me,
that.
that's the thoughtfulness of how we've built our omni-channel strategy. Is just because you shop in that channel, it does not mean you are not a part of this brand. You are just as important as a part of this brand as our D2C consumers are. And I don't think a lot of brands think about their consumer that way.
Well, that's the brand loyalty piece of building trust. Like they trust you so much that they're not worried about. There's a reason why people buy stuff on Amazon. Like I know I can return it anytime. I'm not worried about that. But someone trusts you enough to buy your product elsewhere, not directly from you, and know, hey, I'm not even worried about there being a problem or anything because I know I can reach out to your team and I'm going to get the response that I'm looking for.
And that's a decision a business has to make, right? Because in theory, I could tell a consumer, sorry, you bought your product from Target. You need to go return it through them and then they'll charge us back. And no, nope, we're not going to do that. Like my job is to make every parent who decides to use Bobbie feel happy she chose us, feel her baby is safe, that she can go to bed feeling like, I trust this brand. I'm feeding this baby 6, 7, 8 bottles a day. They're on my side. We don't think enough about how private companies should be on the side of consumers. I think it's a huge miss. Like when private companies can align with the consumer, the ingredients we put in here, you can trust. You would pick them for your own baby. The way we're going to treat you is how you would want to be treated. The way we're going to talk to you, the way we're going to educate you, empower you. To me, these are no-brainers. I think I am shocked by how often even I as a consumer buy other products or have engagements with other brands and I go, God, what a miss. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, the micromanager in me wants to email someone and be like, hey, I had this experience. I think you should, but I keep it to myself.
Well, I always think that I'd rather get providing a really high level of service is super important to us at Cartology and our organization. Like I want you to feel heard and I want you to feel like we're on your side, like exactly what you're saying. Now there might be conversations like, hey, if we really want to drive in this direction, we need to go here. And what you're saying right now is you want to go this other way. Here's what's going to happen if we do that. So let's make sure there's alignment. There's sometimes tough conversations that need to be had, but it's always from a place of like, is this your goal? Your goal is to do this thing. Well, here's what we think is the best thing to do. We're going to go and do that stuff for you. It's not like we're, adding more work to your plate, but we want to deliver a really high level of service. And sometimes it's just like, hey, thanks for letting us know this thing. We're going to take care of it. I would so much rather just have the feedback like, hey, notice this thing. It looks like it was broken. Are you guys looking into this? Yep, we're on it. But I always want to be first to market. Like in the service side, we're looking at things and saying, hey, we flagged an issue, we're addressing it, then we need to go to that client and say, hey, just want to let you know, we found this, we're already working on it, just want to keep you posted. That, like those little points of communication, we don't think, oh, it's not a big deal, we're already taking care of it. That's what builds trust. I think is more frequent communication that people can believe in over time. That's how you build the trust. And that's how a brand does it with like consistent brand messaging, high quality product, with how they treat people. There's actually, I don't know what the name of it might be a theory, but I don't know what the name of this is called, but there is something to how someone reacts to a problem. And the example that I've seen used is like, you're in a restaurant and there's a fly in your soup and you say to the server, there's a fly in my soup. If the server says, so what is your reaction going to be? You're going to be put off. You're going to be irate. If the server says, oh my gosh, that is so unacceptable. I'm going to bring this back to the kitchen. We're going to comp your meal. We're going to take care of you. Imagine what that person's reaction is going to be like. Like, oh, hey, it's okay. Like, you don't need to, like, you go above and beyond. I'm not saying you have to use it as a tactic, but like, if you really show the person you care, they typically aren't. I mean, they could just be someone that likes to get.
Why shouldn't companies use it as a tactic?
Yeah, maybe they should use it as a, I don't know.
But actually, like your whole purpose as a brand is to
serve these people,
serve your customers. So why wouldn't you have exceptional service built into the ethos of every brand? Why is there a uniform consumer experience of being annoyed about reaching out to CX? Their whole job is customer experience. The X is experience. Why are we so okay with horrible interactions with brands? And then we're shocked when brands that break out have exceptional customer service. Yeah, of course they do. Because
and if you do that, even if you don't believe in the like you're right. I think if you get into that mindset of like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I think you actually start to feel more compassion and empathy towards those people. And you're like, man, I do want to make this
Yeah.
right. So I think you're right. Maybe even if it doesn't fit every single person on your team, like this is what we're going to do and see how that builds the rapport with people.
I'm probably not the right person because I'm eternally optimistic and I believe that people are meant to, that deep down, everyone is actually nice and kind. They're just figuring out how to access that. So my assumption is always, whether it's what I can experience or see or not, you're having an experience and it's not what you wanted it to be. And whether the product is $1 or $1,000, it matters. It
Yeah.
really matters. And I'm so tired of the industry feeling like consumers can be taken advantage of because they have to buy something or there's a necessity or, well, we don't have to spend the money there. Well, guess what? You may not have to, but eventually you'll pay for it because then you have to chase growth. You're not allowing the organic love for the brand do a lot of that carrying and talking. And
Or you're just not, you don't feel like you even have to care. Like, okay, yeah, well, like whatever. Like that's not something that's important to us. When like, why are you creating a product so that people will buy it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, isn't that
Yeah.
the deal that we have going here? Why do I have a service so people will use it? So what can I do to help serve that person?
I
well?
remember when we were so early days in Target, we had launched and it was still in the middle of the formula shortage. And we had planned our launch for a long time before that, but it happened to be that we were launching right around when the formula shortage happened. And I remember at that point, it was bleak. It was really hard for parents. They were driving hours every day, buying formula off of other people. People were price gouging. Like it was,
Yeah.
I didn't like what I was seeing. And at that point, I remember talking to our team and I said, listen, guys, we need to figure out a way to make people like these moms are showing up at Target. They're looking for formula, whether that's ours or someone else's. I mean, even now I choke up thinking about it. If you decide you're going to feed your baby formula for whatever reason and you can't find that formula, you can't switch it, right? It causes days of digestive issues when you switch formulas. I'm getting emotional. And to feel like you're driving around all day, you've got this baby and you're trying to figure out how to feed, like there is arguably nothing more stressful than feeling like I need to keep my child safe and fed. And if you know that sound of a hungry baby's cry, it's torture. If I hear another baby with that hungry cry, it's like I start to feel sick. And I remember talking to our team and we were bouncing ideas around. We were like, what is in every Target? Almost every Target has a Starbucks. What if we actually just give away Starbucks gift cards to moms right now so that when they go to Target, if they can't find formula, at least they're walking out and like they got their coffee on us. Those are the little touches. I remember one time, early days at Bobbie, this mom reached out and she was going through airport security and I think she had forgotten her bag and she didn't realize she didn't have her Bobbie formula. And we Ubered her cans to the airport.
Wow.
You don't have to do these things as a brand, right? But it comes back to really feeling like, how can you relate so deeply with your consumer that her experience in every part of how she touches, from engaging with CX to buying product on shelf, to being a subscriber, to buying on Amazon, she can feel the warmth of what that brand represents. For us, that's always been care first for parents. And I'm really bullish that that's what has driven our unprecedented growth, right? I think that when you look at how quickly we gained trust and love and virality in the sense of like a brand that grew on organic referral, it was putting her front and center and trying to solve whatever we could for her and her experience.
Simply put, brands are here to serve consumers.
Yes.
How can you do that
Yes.
in the best possible way?
Yes.
And that's so simple, but I think honestly, simple is great. How do we serve these people well? So yes, it's best product, best formula. We want our moms to feel safe with what they're feeding their babies. And like, then how do you go above and beyond to do that and wow people in that? People are going to remember bad experiences, but they're also going to remember, oh my gosh, Bobbie Ubered formula to me at the airport. That is insane. They'll never forget that. And you know what? You will have every time they meet someone that's about to be a mom or is a new mom or is a mom, dad, whatever, you need to go to Bobbie. So she's well beyond the baby years, totally different stage. But I remember those days fondly. She had such bad gas and someone recommended gripe water to us. And it was a British woman because she had used it.
Yep.
Every single parent I've told about that because it works so well.
Yeah.
And I know other people who swear by it as well too. So it's like those little things when someone gives something to you and your baby's uncomfortable and they
Yep.
finally are like feeling better. Yeah, that's amazing. And so those kinds of referrals make all the difference, but it comes from trust.
They make such a difference. They make such a big difference.
To anyone who's out there, like you're there to serve someone. It's like, how can you serve that person really well? And maybe sometimes it's just saying, hey, what can we do for you today? And see what the response is. Well, that's all we got, people. We don't have anything else. If you want to find out more about what Sara is doing, where should they look for you, Sara? At a Starbucks, at a Target, maybe somewhere else?
Probably meandering the aisles of a Whole Foods and Target and talking to our customers. But in actuality, our customer service, as I've said, is exceptional, and they will route people to me and through highbobbie.com.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, people. We're out.
And if this episode hit close to home because we talked about something like Amazon that feels complex or fragmented, this is exactly what we do at Cartology. I'm Michael Marr. I own Cartology. We are a full-service Amazon agency. We take extreme ownership in the work that we do. We get results, and we have a holistic end-to-end service that not just gives you strategy, but we also handle the execution and everything in between. If you want a partner who's actually accountable for outcomes and that you will love working with and trust, find our information in the show notes. We'd love to talk with you. Thanks again for spending your time here. I'm Michael Marr, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Longer Game.